Now we want to go to another story involving the White House. This breaking yesterday, the White House linking autism to Tylenol usage among pregnant women, saying that it is a factor in the, they say, growth in the number of autism or people living with autism in the country. And right now we are bringing on a doctor to speak on this, as a lot of doctors, physicians have spoken out against the link between the two. So joining us now is Dr. Jaiden Cole-Miskel, functional medical physician and educator. We appreciate you for sticking with us and joining us today to talk about something that is very, very important to a lot of people. So good morning to you, Dr. Miskel. How you doing?
I'm good. Good morning. How you doing?
Well, I want to start by this. Obviously, you've heard and you saw the announcement that was made by the White House and the president yesterday linking autism to the use of the painkiller Tylenol. What were your immediate reactions to that as a doctor?
I don't think I should say my immediate reactions on TV, but I think reading through the article and hearing what was said, I think that the word association that they're claiming is present is doing some very heavy lifting.
You
I
know,
think
this is
there's a very
something,
loose association.
sorry there, I didn't, it's something that it's not a new thing that's been introduced from my understanding. This is something that has been studied. Various people throughout the years have tried to link, Tylenol with autism. But to this point, am I correct in saying that those studies have not proven any real link to an increase in the number of people living with autism?
Correct. So you read it well. So you read it better than most. So I think that there's a lot that's being left out of the article. The link, the little loose link that they did find, is usually due to confounding factors. So not specifically to Tylenol, but why was the pregnant mother taking Tylenol in the first place? And it's usually due to inflammation. So inflammation we found does have a link with autism. So it's not the Tylenol per se. It's kind of like saying that because I'm wearing this stethoscope, that makes me a doctor. And that doesn't make sense.
There are some concerns. I want to read this from the American Academy of Pediatrics. They had some very strong words. I know you said you didn't want to give your first thoughts on it, but they wrote today's White House event on autism was filled with dangerous claims and misleading information that sends a confusing message to parents and expecting parents and does a disservice to autistic individuals. They went on to say that pediatricians know firsthand that children's immune systems perform better after vaccinations. It's saying regarding autism, it's complex, highly variable, and increasingly linked to genetics. There is no single root cause of autism and no single medication that will give every autistic child or adult what they need. And so that was coming from the Academy of American Pediatrics there. I want to ask you this in terms of for parents. I was reading that some of the concerns, if you're a pregnant woman now, or you are a parent who has given birth to an autistic child, what does an announcement like this potentially maybe leave them to think in terms of maybe they use Tylenol in the course of their pregnancy?
So I'd say that I'm not a fan of Tylenol. I'm not the biggest fan. Tylenol, I don't have Tylenol stock. I don't get anything from Tylenol. They're not paying me. But if it comes down to a pregnant mother with a high fever and Tylenol, I'm going to pick the Tylenol 100 times out of 100. You have to understand how Tylenol works. It basically just blocks these things called prostaglandins that cause pain and inflammation and or fever. So if you have the opportunity to take Tylenol to reduce your fever, you should at a certain at a certain level. If you have Tylenol and the way that it breaks down in the liver, it breaks down into this metabolite called well, and you need an antioxidant to get rid of it. So if you have too much Tylenol, you can have higher levels of it that can cause liver damage, which could lead to inflammation, but that causing autism on its own is highly unlikely. So for pregnant mothers, I would say still take Tylenol in moderation. And if you're taking it for a long time, you can take some things to increase the antioxidant that our body makes to get rid of Tylenol. That antioxidant is called glutathione, and that requires vitamin B2 and vitamin C to work well. So when we run out of levels of glutathione, then that can lead to liver damage if you get rid of that too early.
And so that kind of leads me to my next question as you were kind of breaking that down. What would be your advice for, everyday Americans and people who are, they're hearing the president say, particularly for pregnant women, he is urging them to stop taking Tylenol at this time. And you'll have people who are now having baby questions, et cetera, given the guidance that they just received. What advice would you give for everyday Americans in terms of where to get their information regarding what they should bring into their bodies in terms of medication?
I would say talk to your physician. Keep talking to your physician. Do your own research. Understand more than just TikTok and Instagram. Get your information from other sources other than Twitter or the White House at this time. If you want to believe it, don't take that firsthand hearsay. Go back and do your own research. Tylenol has been proven safe for a long time, several years. So there's no reason why you shouldn't take it. And actually, a high fever is so much more dangerous than taking Tylenol. So the little side effects that you can get from Tylenol are due to other circumstances, but not just the Tylenol. A high fever is much worse during pregnancy. So I would always suggest Tylenol over just living with a fever
And
and that type of information.
and I can't remember if I heard you say this earlier, but I know I was reading, people when they were first hearing this news. Are there a lot of, approved medications, particularly for pregnant women when it comes to like pain, being able to deal with pain? I mean, I kind of feel like Tylenol is one of the main ones that is kind of approved. I'm not fully sure. You probably will know better than me. Does telling them not to take this, does it take a lot of options off the table?
It does. It's dangerous and it's misleading. Tylenol is pretty safe, and you don't have a lot of options as a pregnant woman to get rid of pain. And fever is an issue. So the reason why inflammation is so bad is because your body's going to release these cytokines, and these cytokines are promoting your immune system to attack things. So if you have this fever or this inflammation going on, especially in your brain, then you're being attacked by your immune system. You have high levels of prostaglandins, cytokines, and they do damage. And we've seen this in several disorders, not just autism. So this is autoimmune disorders, this is autism, this is ADHD. This is all due to inflammation, high levels of inflammation and cytokine storms. So this isn't due to what we use to prevent that, as with the Tylenol, but it's the direct effect of the inflammation. So saying that Tylenol is causing this is just misleading, and it's not true.
And then another question I had for you specifically to, parents of autistic children, right? And family members. What would possibly be your words to them? Because I'm sure there are people who are genuinely wondering and wanting to find if there's an answer or any kind of link, right? These concerns, these questions aren't coming out of nowhere. what would you maybe say to them as a medical professional in terms of maybe their desires to kind of understanding a bit more as to what could potentially be an effect here?
So with Tylenol, so when you have a fever, usually people take Tylenol because they have a fever or their babies have a fever. So I don't like to rush to Tylenol because you have a fever. So the fever is supposed to happen. So bacteria gets in your body, it causes inflammation. Bacteria don't like your body getting hot. That's what the fever is. So the body is doing the fever on purpose. You're supposed to have the fever. Now, once you get to a certain level, like 10, 103, then we're starting to be concerned. So even before the Tylenol, I would say get in the bathtub, take a cool bath, put the baby in a cool bath to reduce the fever. If you can't reduce the fever with the bathtub, then you go to Tylenol. So like I said, I'm not an advocate of Tylenol, but fevers are much more damaging than Tylenol. So you can take Tylenol in moderation, just like you've always been able to do. And as long as you're taking those vitamins that you can get rid of Tylenol with, so the glutathione that I mentioned earlier, that requires vitamin C, which you can get anywhere, in Sour Patch Kids. And B2, as long as you get that, that's in leafy greens, you can replenish your glutathione to get rid of that toxic metabolite that is produced by taking Tylenol. So Tylenol is very safe. It's very safe. But like I said, I would do other things before the Tylenol, but that's just me because I know that your body's supposed to have it. It's doing it on purpose.
Again, we appreciate you joining us in, Dr. Jaiden Cole-Miskel. I want to ask you this before we let you go. Is there anything else that we're missing that we didn't ask that you're like, hey, we want to make sure that this is communicated for people who are watching?
I think I use glutathione, and I want to make sure everyone understands what that is. It's an antioxidant, and so breaking down what antioxidants do. Eugene, your mother probably made apple pie, and if she made apple pie, she put lemon juice on the apples so that the apples wouldn't turn brown. That's oxidation. So when the apples turn brown, that's oxidation. So our bodies do that as well. So glutathione is a major antioxidant for our body. So we don't want those things in our body turning brown. So that's what's needed to eliminate Tylenol from. And like I said, those two vitamins, vitamin C and vitamin B2, as long as you have those, you can replenish your glutathione, and then you can eliminate the byproduct of Tylenol to get out of your body. And usually we have more than enough if you're taking Tylenol in moderation when you're supposed to, the directed way to get rid of it. So yeah, it's safe. And I just want to explain that for it because that's a big word.
Well, I appreciate you. You are certainly not alone within the medical community. We have seen countless interviews just within the last 12 to 18 hours or so since this announcement came out with a lot of doctors, physicians, those who are the leading voices in the medical community sharing similar sentiments as you, saying that it doesn't exactly go along with the science that they have seen that's been studied and that they say has been proven. And we're hearing those same words from you today. So we do appreciate you taking the time and waiting with us this morning and sharing your expertise. I look forward to bringing you back at some point, too, to talk about anything else that falls in line within the medical community. So Dr. Cole-Miskel, thank you so much for taking your time with us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
For sure, for sure. Look forward to having him again, Naya. That was great to hear from his expertise. As we said, a lot of people have now questions, and they're looking at the Trump administration, the White House, with Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who had pushed. The moment he came in, he said he was going to try to set a date to try to figure out what he called answers to what was going on when it came to autism, and this is what they have put forth at the time. But I do want to bring back up that statement from the American Academy of Pediatrics, which is the leading agency of pediatricians, around 67,000 across the country. If we can pull up this, let me see if I can pull it up for us, pull up their actual statement. All right, we're pulling it up here. You can see it. This was released just yesterday from the American Academy of Pediatrics. I read a little bit of it earlier and just kind of want to take you through. Again, this is one of the leading groups representing roughly 67,000 pediatricians across the country, saying that the White House event on autism was filled with dangerous claims and misleading information that sends a confusing message to parents and expecting parents and does a disservice to autistic individuals. It says studies have repeatedly found no credible link between life-saving childhood vaccines and autism. This research in many countries involving thousands of individuals has spanned multiple decades. Any effort to misrepresent sound, strong science poses a threat to the health of children. Pediatricians know firsthand that children's immune systems perform better after vaccination against serious contagious diseases like polio, measles, whooping cough, and hepatitis B. Spacing out or delaying vaccines means children will not have immunity against these diseases at times when they are most at risk. Now it says, regarding autism, we know it's a complex, highly variable, and increasingly linked to genetics. There is no single root cause of autism. There's no single medication that will give every autistic child or adult what they need. Individualized plans, often involving a combination of developmental, behavioral, educational, and social relational strategies, can help improve outcomes that are meaningful to individuals and families. We also need and welcome additional investments in federally funded research to better support families of autistic children. Families who have questions about their child's medications, autism care plans, or other health care should consult with their pediatrician or healthcare provider, and the AAP remains committed to providing accurate information to guide pediatricians and parents in making decisions that are family-centered and individualized to meet every child's needs and goals. So we see what that came down from the American Academy of Pediatricians. And so a lot of doctors have come out since yesterday's announcement with concerns. And we just heard from a doctor of our own at this time as well.